If you let me have my way, if it were up to me, then I would make immigration the strictest, tightest, extremely merit-based accomplishment anyone could ever achieve. Okay, now what do I mean? I would make sure that only the most qualified individuals are allowed to immigrate into any country on the face of the planet. That means for you to immigrate to any country on this earth, you need to be qualified and you must have extensive knowledge of that country. You must possess important skills to excel in that country, and you must genuinely love and respect that country, including its laws, its tenets, and its culture, its symbols like its flags and monuments, landmarks, you name it, whatever it is, its language, its educational system, its legal system, its way of life, its national anthem. You must genuinely love and respect these things. For you to be allowed in, then you must agree to respect, uphold, and never rise up against any of these things I mentioned that has to do with this country you are planning to immigrate into. So if you love Sharia law, you prefer women to be covered in burqa from head to toe, with no way of these women to breathe freely like normal human beings. If you prefer stoning people to death or hanging them for their transgressions, okay? If you hate pork, if you can't eat foods that are not halal, and you hate so many Western culture, then you would not be allowed into Western countries, okay? You would not be allowed into Western societies. No visas for you in Western countries. But I will fight with my last breath, okay? Oppose any power above or under the earth except God to make sure that you get your visas to Afghanistan or Syria or Yemen or Palestine or Egypt or Iran or Iraq or Oman or UAE or the Saudi Arabia or Somalia, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Mention it. I know where to put you. There are so many options where I can place you, and I will make sure you get accepted into one of these lovely countries. Count that as a promise, okay? I'll fight for you. I'll do it. Also, if you don't like these Western flags, if these flags scare you, despite you claiming to be a proud Brit, okay, or a proud Italian, or a proud Canadian, if you cannot stand the Western police, if you cannot respect the Western laws, if you think seeing the Union Jack being hung outside of people's homes or in stores in Britain is going to make you scared, if you have to have full-blown meltdowns because Scottish primary schools requires you to be fluent in Gaelic before you can be a teacher in Scottish schools teaching Scottish children, if you cannot stand these Western people's culture, but you are not a member of the wonderful religion of peace, also, do not worry, okay? I have just the best countries for you. I would either ship you to Nigeria. You can live in the east or south. It is perfectly Christian, okay? You also have Ghana. You have the entire sub-Saharan Africa to pick from, okay? I can choose anywhere for you. It is there waiting. Also, I can fight for you to be allowed into the Philippines or Nepal or Venezuela or Haiti or Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. There are endless options for you. And I'm just, mentioning but a few. Now, I hope you get the gist. So in essence, only those who are ready to assimilate and accept the tenets of a particular country, love everything about that particular country, both its flags and its rules, and everything. Only those people are allowed into that country. And any day you rise up to speak a word against these tenets and these symbols that you have vowed to genuinely love and respect, then that will be the day that you will be bundled up like a bunch of firewood and shipped back to wherever country you originated from. And this would go for every man, woman, and child, okay? Every abled and disabled person, white, black, or Asian, every Dick, Tom, and Harry. Now, this is how I would want it to be if I were to have my way. But let's quickly check out what this wonderful British man, who refers to himself as a proud and patriotic Brit, has to tell us for today. Buckle up.
And I am a proud Brit, despite this nation's history and many problems. But I do find any displays of patriotism that include the Union Jack or the St. George's Cross, the England flag, kind of distressing. And from my experience, this isn't an uncommon feeling amongst marginalised racial and ethnic groups in the UK. A key reason for this is the extent to which racist and xenophobic far-right individuals and groups use this flag to disguise their bigotry as patriotic pride. If I had a pound for every time someone was racist towards me online who had the Union Jack in their bio, I'd be pretty wealthy. The flag is also a common symbol of British nationalism, which is often unkind and threatening to racial and ethnic minorities here. It's also a reminder of Britain's dark colonial history. I'm not saying that the flag is inherently racist or xenophobic, or that it's even insensitive to fly the flag with sincere feelings of pride. But it's important to recognise that many of us have an uncomfortable, painful relationship with patriotic imagery. And that doesn't make us any less British. Hope that helps. Bye.
No, that doesn't help. And yes, if you have an uncomfortable, painful experience just by looking at a piece of cloth with 2 or 3 colors, which in this case represent a British flag, then you, sir, are extremely non-British, okay? That is the clearest indicator that despite claiming to love Britain and claiming to be a proud Brit, deep at the center of your core, you harbor the greatest feeling of hatred for that country, okay? For Britain. And no matter how wide you stretch your mouth and bare all your 32 sets of teeth to say otherwise, we actually know better, okay? Because you have very well exposed yourself. And this just reminds me of that story in the Bible where 2 women were claiming to be the mother of a newborn child, okay? They were both fighting over this baby, with each woman claiming to be the real mother of this child. Of course, there was no technology for DNA tests back then, but the wise King Solomon applied the greatest maternity test of all times. He requested that the baby be brought forward and declared that since the 2 women claimed to be the mothers, he would cut the baby in 2 equal halves, so each woman can get a piece of the child. Now, the fake mom was jubilant at this news because that means the real mother gets to lose her baby. So she agreed that the baby be split in half. But the real mom, genuinely caring and trying to protect her poor baby, agreed to surrender the baby to the fake mother, okay? Because she would rather have her child live out its life under the roof of another woman than be killed, okay? So even if she doesn't get to nurture and train her child, at least this child will still get a chance at life, but under a different woman's roof. And this was the ultimate test that led King Solomon to discover who the real mother of the baby was, okay? Because no matter what, no real mother would allow her child to be cut in half. Now, this guy claims to be a proud Brit, okay? He claims to be a proud Brit, but breaks down in a mental fit at the sight of a British flag. Real Brits would have the greatest feeling of pride, okay? They would feel a surge of happiness and patriotism in the deepest part of their heart when they encounter a British flag. And the more the flags they come across, the greater the feeling of pride they get. I really don't know how people like this black guy justify all this nonsense they spew. Like, I really cannot comprehend it. It is so unbelievable, okay? I don't know how their mind works, how their mind functions. If what he is explaining is happening to him in his home country of, let's say, Ghana or Tanzania or Nigeria or whichever African country he came from, if he is encountering several British flags over there on African soil, then I would understand and I would 100% support his opinions. Just like I've been saying when I see Mexican flags flying all over the place in America, okay? Or when I encounter the Palestinian flag on every doorstep or cars belonging to hypocritical individuals living in Canada, the UK, or anywhere in the West. But we are talking about people inhabiting their native lands, okay? And putting up their own country flag in their own country. And some freaking foreigner-made citizen is losing their mind about it on the internet. Please, be freaking for real right now. I also find it interesting to see that he associated the British flag with colonialism, but willfully ignored that this was the same flag that ended a global evil called slavery during the time of William Wilberforce, okay? This was the same flag that provided immeasurable support and fought against fascism and ended the World War II. This same flag fought all the British wars, okay? This flag led Britain to the prosperous nation it is today, which attracted him and his family, maybe, to want to immigrate into Britain. There is no Britain without this flag, yet this man is scared out of his wits at the sight of this piece of clothing. He is not happy to see this flag. Now, what does that tell you? Simple. He genuinely hates Britain, its symbols, its rules, and cannot wait for Britain to become non-British. He cannot wait for Britain to become a country where every flag is celebrated and proudly flown, except its own flag. A place where its demographic looks nothing like the founding fathers, okay? A country where on high school culture days, every cultural attire is elevated and celebrated, but the culture of the native owners of the land. The culture of the native owners of the land are shamed and applauded, okay, which led to the extent that a high school kid of 12 years old was chased home because of her British attire on Culture Day. A country where British literature are banned in schools as a way of decolonizing the education system and maintaining diversity in classrooms, even though the educational system in Britain is just British. So, I don't know who is decolonizing who. The British has to decolonize themselves even though they are perfectly British, okay? It just doesn't make sense.
It isn't as simple as just reading a few Maya Angelou poems during Black History Month. We have to fully incorporate the work and ideas of people of colour into each aspect of the curriculum by rethinking the very foundations of our education system to a point where it doesn't feel performative but provides beneficial insight. And the final step is to adapt. The whole point of decolonising the curriculum is to make the outlooks and experiences we study more universal.
Oh, the mental gymnastics. He wants a country where it is a taboo by law for church bells to go off, but Islamic cries to prayer are allowed to destroy people's peace and quiet starting from the wee hours of 5 a.m. A country where British churches are quickly being replaced by Islamic mosques and Islamic centers. This is the country these so-called proud Brits want, okay? And what's even more interesting is the fact that this guy is referring to the real people who actually and genuinely love and respect Britain as far right. That is so interesting to me. These days, when you stand for truth and justice, when you defend your country because you genuinely love it and have nowhere else to go, if it gets ruined by foreigners made citizens, okay, you are called far right, okay? If these foreigners made citizens don't like your patriotic opinions, they would dub you far right. So currently, the phrase far right is completely meaningless, okay? Unless you are trying to say patriotic. And yes, I refer to people like this guy as foreigners made citizens because that is simply what they are. They have benefited from the generosity of these Western nations, and they have been granted full rights and full legal recognition normally reserved for native inhabitants. They forget that places like Africa and Asia would never return foreigners the same favor, okay? Even if a German guy lives in Nigeria for 50 years, he can never become fully Nigerian. Maybe after spending a lot of years, you can naturalize, okay, and become a Nigerian citizen. But that is only on paper. You will never, ever be accepted by anybody into any political office or even live out your life freely like native Nigerians. I'm sure the same thing applies in Pakistan or Afghanistan or Japan or Oman or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, whatever you can mention. Only the West is expected to throw away their national identity and their heritage and embrace a totally new, different foreign one. That is extremely dangerous, and this dangerous propaganda needs to go, okay? People like this guy have taken advantage of your hospitality and thrown it back in your faces. And maybe, just maybe, it is time to send them back. Please don't let them get scared to death by British flag, okay? Remember, depression kills. Please, please, and please, put them out of their misery and send them back. But as always, guys, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions. Please feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or supporting the channel in any way that you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.